Hi guys, and welcome back to another lesson. Today's lesson is Unit 5, Lesson 2. It's about point slope equations. And how we know if we're successful is these two criteria. One, you know how to find the slope in a point slope equation. And then number two, you can write an equation in point slope form when given either 1 point in a slope or 2 points. And so recall the last lesson we talked about slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. The equation that we're going to use today is point slope form. And so I want you to notice some of the differences here in these two equations. Yes, you do need to know the names of these equations because your math teacher will mention them quite a lot, actually. And so knowing their names is part of knowing the math. Okay, so notice that the m, this was our slope. It's in the same spot in both equations. But what they've done is, like, you can tell, like this x plus b, we've got some business going on here. And then this y over here, we got some business going on here. So we've got to figure out what all that means. Okay. It is called point slope for a reason. So I just showed you where the slope is. The point is going to be these two arrows that we see here. Okay. So this is going to be our point, and we have, it's going to be that x1 value and that y1 value. So let me color code that so that, you can have a color scheme in your head. So my x1, we'll go ahead and color that yellow here. So we got that. And then the y1 is this here. Now, there is a big thing that I want to point out to you. It does have negatives, okay? So we need to be very careful and cognizant that, let me go ahead and write, be careful. This equation has subtraction. This will come in particularly important when we go to try to look at an equation and find a point, because there is a subtraction right here and there's a subtraction right here. And so I know that you may not really have a frame of reference for that yet, but you will. Now, why would we ever use this equation? Well, my sloth has a little bit of advice over here. And you can see we use this form when we're given 2 points, or it can be when you're given 1 point and a slope. Okay, so that's a common reason to use this. Well, let's look at this first example here. And I am going to compare this real quickly. I'm going to compare this to point slope form. So if I write y minus 4 equals negative 2 x plus 3, and I write my point slope form equation, I've got y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. It is very easy to see that the number that is here in the m spot, that negative 2, that's our slope. So we got that first part easy. The next part can be tricky, so we got to be careful. So I'm going to write down my negative 2. I want you to notice we got a subtraction right here and a subtraction right here, which means we're going to have to flip these signs. So that y minus 4, it's not going to be negative 4 here as the point. It is going to be 4, okay? Because if we plug that into the equation and we do y minus 4, that's what we get, okay? So this is a positive 4. Now, this x minus 3, or this x, if it was like x minus a number, well, this is x is plus 3. So that means this is going to be a negative 3. The reason for that is that if we do x minus negative 3, that is positive 3. So you're like, what on earth is this lady talking about? The thing that you got to remember with this is if you go pull that point from point slope form, you just got to remember that you got to flip the signs. Okay. Okay, so that is that particular example. Now, we can write an equation. So this one says, write an equation in point slope form that has a slope of 4, and it's got this point. So we're going to take this equation, we're going to write y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. This is my m right here. You know, it told us it was a slope. Okay, so we know that we're going to drop that number right here. There are two letters that we leave alone. They don't have the numbers by it. So like this plain x here, we're going to write x minus, and then this y minus, we're going to leave there, and we can write our equal sign. This part, let's see, this 7, that is going to go right here. So it's y minus 7. And then this x, let me go grab. Okay, so this x is negative 2. We're going to write that right here. So it's minus a negative 2. We're going to have to fix that. So we know that it's y minus 7 equals 4x minus a negative 2 is going to be x plus 2. And so there's that answer. All right, we can practice this again. It says write an equation in point slope form. And it's got the point here, 5, negative 1. So that's my x1, y1. And it's got a slope of negative 2/3. My point slope equation is that y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. And notice I'm getting it from up here. Okay, I'm just writing down that equation. I can plug in my slope, easy peasy. I'm just going to write down my negative 2/3. My x is x minus, and I see a 5 here, so I'm going to do x minus 5. And then y minus, well, this is minus a negative 1. So we know that when we subtract a negative, when we do a minus 1, we're really adding it, okay? So it's going to become x plus 1. And that is that equation in point slope form. Now I'm recording this ahead of time, so you will definitely want to pause this if I have gone too fast. I'm going to erase this and go on to the next part. Alrighty, so this one says write an equation in point slope form that passes through these 2 points. Let me just go ahead and write some equations over here. First, we need to remember how to find slope, and this was in prior lessons. So my slope equation is y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. Okay, so this is one equation. My second equation that I'm going to do is going to be point slope. And point slope is y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. Okay? So I can label these. I can label them x1, y1, x2, y2. Notice it did not give us a slope directly, okay? That means our first step in this problem is that we have to calculate slope. Okay. That's step number 1. So I'm going to go ahead and drop it into my equation. I've got slope. I'll write my equation over again for the benefit of just kind of rehashing it. Y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So my y2 is this guy here. We've got 6 minus My y1 is -2. So 6 minus a -2. X2 is this guy here. That's 5 minus X1 is a 1. Okay. 6 minus a -2, that's going to be 8. 5 minus 1 is going to be 4. So 8 divided by 4 is going to simplify to 2. So that is my slope. That's the first part, but we haven't even made it to our point slope equation. But that's okay. We can totally do that. Let me go ahead and switch colors so we don't, our eyes don't blur together. So we're going to do this in point slope form. So we're going to write point slope. Okay, so my equation is over here. And so we're going to write y minus, this is the number that we got to get from a point. And you can pick either point. I think I'll go ahead and pick this one here. The reason is that there's no negatives on either one. So it just kind of makes, life a little easier. My slope is negative, or woo, I couldn't read my writing there. It is definitely not -2. Let me just go ahead and erase that. It's 2, and then we can do x minus 5. This, believe it or not, is the same exact equation. If we rearrange this into point slope form, this is the same exact equation if we use the other point. So like if we did the other point, we said y minus -2 equals 2x minus 1. These two equations are actually the same, okay? Let me prove it to you just real fast. Okay, so I'm going to do y plus 2. I'm going to go ahead and distribute this out. So that's 2x minus 2. I'm going to subtract 2. We get y equals 2x minus 4. Okay, so this is slope, or this is y-intercept. I'm going to convert this one into y-intercept. This is not part of the problem. I'm just proving to you that you can use either point, okay? So all this work here that I'm doing is just extra work to show you can use either point. Okay, so I distributed this here, the 2 in parentheses x minus 5. I'm going to add 6 to both sides. And so we're going to get y equals 2x minus 4. Boom, okay? You see, it's the exact same thing. So either point will work, no problem at all. So it doesn't matter which one you pick when you solve these problems. Although sometimes there is an easier point to pick, and like the first one that I chose, I picked because it did not have any negatives. At 5, 6, it was both positive. Okay, sometimes it's unavoidable. Like there's negatives in both of these, so we're just going to have to deal. Okay, we don't have a choice in the matter here. All righty, let's go to the next one. It says write an equation in point slope form that goes through these 2 points. Again, I'm going to have to do this as 2 steps. My first is I'm going to have to calculate slope. So we've got y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. This is my y2, my y1, x1, x2. Okay. Remember, points are written in x, comma, y format, so that's why they're labeled that. The 1s go with the first point we came to, and the 2s come to the second point. Okay, so my y2 is 2 minus 4, -2 minus -6. That's going to give us -2. 2 minus a -6 is going to be -2 plus 6, which is going to give me a 4. And so that's -1/2. That's the slope once it's simplified. So we can just go ahead and write that down here. I'm going to go ahead and switch colors so that we can read this, break it up in our eyes. Okay, so the next one, we're going to go ahead and write point slope. I'm going to remind you real fast. Let me just go ahead and highlight this while I'm thinking about it. This number or this letter here and this letter, you do not, you just write the variable over again. Okay. That's not where we plug our numbers in. So when we write point slope, we can write y minus this y over here. We can just pick, it doesn't matter which one we pick. So I'm just going to go ahead and pick, this one here. I don't have a rhyme or reason why that one. It's just the first one I came to. So y minus the y value up here, that's 4, equals m, which is, we calculated that here. So minus 1/2 x minus, and that's a -6 there. So x plus 6, okay? Because we did minus a -6, which is the same thing as +6. Okay? And that's my equation right there, my friends. So we can go ahead and write that down here in this blank. Y minus 4, -1/2 x plus 6. All right. Now, these two problems up here, they gave us, the 2 points. Like they gave us this and they gave us this. Okay. This one, they're not giving us anything. They're not giving us a slope or points, except for when we look at here, these are all points. So I'm going to just pick these first. This is an x and y. My x is here, my y is here. And then these other points, they're just extra information. Okay. So we don't have to worry about those down there. I can go through and I can label my points. This is going to be my x1. This is my y1. This is my x2. And this is my y2. So my first step is I'm going to calculate slope. And it's y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. My y2 is this 10 minus my y1, which is 4. My x2 is 3. My x1 is 1. 10 minus 4 is 6. 3 minus 1 is 2. This is going to simplify to 3. Okay, so that is my slope. But we still haven't written our equation. It told us to write it in point slope form. So we're going to have to go on and do that. Okay, so my second part is I'm going to write it in point slope form. So my equation is that, this y minus y1 equals m x minus x1. So y minus, and I can pick any one of these points, but I just have to keep everything the same. Like I can pick these pair of points down here if I wanted to, right here, or not, this point. I can pick, this one here. It doesn't matter as long as I keep, the same x and the same y in the pair. So I'm going to go ahead and pick that top one because it's just smaller numbers. I don't really have a rhyme or reason. So my y1, I'm going to take this 4. So it's y minus 4. I'm going to use my slope over again, which is at 3. And then we get x minus, and my x1 is 1. And this is my equation. Last but not least, they're saying, write an equation here in point slope form. And you would know how to get, points and stuff off of this from prior lessons. Okay, so let's go think about what we've got to know in order to solve this from a graph. The first thing is that we've got to find the slope. And then the second thing is that we just need one point, and it doesn't matter which point, any point. So any point, any point on the line will work. So my slope, I'm just going to go pick where it crosses, like a hash mark. I can see it crosses here and it crosses here. So that is up 1 over 2. So my slope is 1/2. And then my equation, my point slope form, I'm going to take my y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. My m is this 1/2. So I'm going to write that down. X minus, we'll leave that blank. And then y minus, and we'll leave that blank. I'm going to pick a point, and it does not matter. It can be any point you want. I can just pick this one right here, okay? This point, we read down, this is 2, right? And this is 3. We could pick this one. We could pick this y-intercept, which is 0, because that's the number right here. 0, 2. We could pick any point we wanted to on this line. I'm just picking 2, 3 because it's kind of away from the congestion here. So we can do y minus my y, which is 3, and x minus 2. Any point we pick on this line, when we put it into this slope, this point slope form, it will make the same equation no matter which point we pick. Okay. That's it for this lesson. I hope you have a good day. Bye, guys.